What's going on, everybody? I'm going to do the video today I promised everybody about the man named Jobey Green and his family. I apologize, my videos aren't very exciting to watch, and I don't want to put a lot of pictures in there that's not true, or any of the actual places I'm talking of or speaking about. That would just be more misleading. I would rather just sit here with you and tell you the stories, what I know and what I've heard. So I don't know where to start with this. This may be a two-part story if I can't get it all in here, but I've met the man 3 times before he died. He wasn't a very tall man. He was sort of small structure, and he didn't look very threatening at all. There was nothing menacing about him at all. But him and his family was weird. Now when I say weird, you could go hunting in the middle of the night and you run into him or his wife in the middle of the woods, nowhere. My cousins once ran into him 6 miles away from where he lived, in the middle of the woods. Around here, that's a long ways because it's all up and down hills and mountains. But the thing with him and his wife and his family is that people always thought there was something off about this family, something just not right. And I got to be careful here because he still has children alive today. His wife may still be alive. Her name was Evangeline, I think, Evangeline, something like that. But I went to school with 2 of his kids. So here's what happened. Back in 1985, I'm gonna guess, it was the mid-80s, he called the sheriff's department one night, telling the sheriff's department to get up there that somebody had mutilated his animals and killed them. He had several goats and chickens and whatnot. So when they got there, sure enough, they found satanic symbols, pentagrams, upside down crosses had been nailed to trees. His goats were beheaded, gutted, their hoofs were cut off, chickens were killed. There was some menacing stuff wrote, spray painted on the ground. A lot of evil signs and stuff like that outside his house when the police got there. And the police assumed this has been a cult, you know, devil worshippers had done this. This was in the newspaper back then. We didn't have internet back then. I've tried everywhere in the world to find it now. That's what took so long on this video. But I'm sure there's record of it somewhere. So they go up there and they find all this stuff, you know, and they ask Jobey if he has any idea who done this, what happened. Well, Jobey says yes. He said the devil done it. The devil and his demons and the witches come up there and done this. And himself and his wife saw this, and they were afraid to go out of the house when this happened. Well, of course, now this kind of throwed the police off a little bit, so they got to wondering maybe Jobey done it himself, him and his wife. So it went from the talk of the town was that we had devil worshippers there for a couple of days, 3 or 4, to him and his wife had done this. Now why they had done it, nobody knows, but that was the assumption, that they had done this. And then about 2 years later, it happened again. And again, he claimed that there was a bunch of witches in the front yard in front of his house. He lived at a dead end, and that he saw them do this. So this time it didn't really make the paper. It wasn't a big deal. People kind of blew him off as being a crazy old man. But he swore to his dying day that this happened twice up there at his place. Now, it really did happen. I don't know who done it, but the stuff really happened. The deaths of the animals and the mutilation and the stuff that they found up there really did. And I think the first time the police they did think that the devil worshippers or somebody, some kind of a cult done this, because he was an older man and he wasn't able to do it. In fact, him and his wife used to walk up and down the sides of the road. I remember seeing him plenty times picking up cans, and never knew of him having a regular job. But so they claimed that somehow or another he done it. He did have a couple of older sons. Now, getting into his kids, I've been told that his wife would go out into the woods. This is going to be kind of macabre. And she would get these potions, or she would dig up these roots to make these potions with that she made. And a lot of people around here calls it conjuring, or a conjuring woman, a conjurer. But she would go out into the woods, and if you had a sickness or an ailment or something, people would go see his wife and then come back, a couple of days, and she'd have something made for you. Well, it was rumored that she would go out and get this potion. Now, he was way beyond having kids, and so was she. But they would get this potion that would be what you might call mountain Viagra, I guess. But to go ahead and say this, he would have incest with his daughter. So at that time, he would impregnate her, and they lived with him. So there would be more money coming in from a Social Security check. And I know that's awful to say, and that's awful to accuse him of, and his family, especially being that I know some of them. But that's what was told. That's what was told at the local co-op from the people and around town, that he was doing this. And he had more than just one daughter. And that he had more than just one daughter. See, they don't stop. So, whose the kids was, I tried to find his obituary. It popped up on my phone a couple of weeks ago when I started to do this, but I never read it. I just knew it was available. So I went back just now to try to find it, and I can't. But that's the story with Jobey Green. He couldn't see. He had cataracts on his eyes real bad. But now, I'll tell you about the first time I ever met the man. We were driving up in the Jobey Green Hollow, and you can find that if you go to Google Maps and you type in Jobey Green Hollow over Sevier County. It cuts through now. They've built some cabins off to the side, and the Jobey Green Hollow Road actually cuts through these nice cabins and then goes back out to this dead end where his house once stood. The locals actually burnt the house down. But you can go and you can see that on Google's map. But we rode back there. I was with my friend Jack and his dad. His dad's name was Jack. And we come across Jobey walking down the road, and I was in the back of the truck. And he stopped him, and I heard him talking, and he said, "Hello, Jack," to the driver, spoke to him. And then he said hello to Jackie, his son, that was on the passenger side. And they talked for a minute, and he asked him, said, "You all are up here looking for poke salad." Matter of fact, that's what we was looking for. Thought that was kind of strange. So we told him, yeah, and he told us where, we could find this at. So when we got out, got to looking, Jackie kept asking his dad, how did he know who it was? How did he know our name? I never met this man. How does he know? And Jackie's dad kind of plays it off as, oh, your mama knowed him a long time ago, and probably just, that way. And kind of played it off, but we could tell he was sort of disturbed about it too. So when we got back to Jackie's house, and then his dad drove on off, his mom wasn't there. So he called his mom at work, Jack did. Jackie wanted to know, "Mom, who is this man? And how does he know us?" Well, it just so happens that by the time he had called her, his dad was there at this local store. And the dad, she said, "That's funny you call, because your dad's in here questioning me about the same thing. And it's worrying him and scaring your dad to death." So that's kind of strange. That was the first time I met him, or the second. And you talk about giving you the creeps. You know, I was there, and here this guy knows these people's name, and both of them now find out later that they've never met him before. He never talked to me. I was in the back. But I had seen him other times. We had went hunting one time, and the hunting dogs didn't return. And they were hunting. You could tell that they had went over by his place. So we go over there the next day, and he comes out, and we ask him, you know, have you seen our dogs or heard, you know, the dogs running over here last night? And his reply was no, but if I see any dogs around here, I'm going to kill them. Well, of course, my uncle told him, well, if I see you killing my dogs, you'll eat half the GD thing. It's kind of comical. I was young. But that was probably the second time I'd met the old man, Jobey Green. But we never could figure out what actually happened with the devil worship stuff on that end of the deal. I know he wasn't able to do it. You know, maybe his son's done it. In order to get to Jobey's house back then, you had to drive by one of their trailers that was right against the road. And every time you went up there, they would come out and see what was going on. So it's real weird how nobody actually could have drove up there without them knowing. So that's just one of the stories. My wife wanted me to tell the Jobey Green saga because her dad knowed him real well, knew a lot of stuff on this man. He was a very strange character, and so was his wife, and all their kids and stuff. And a lot of these kids, you can tell, were inbred. God, I hope they don't hear this, find this video. But it's your typical, stereotypical hillbilly living. It's pitiful. It's pitiful that this happened. It's pitiful that they carried on this way, and I guess he thought that it was right to survive. They had to have the money, so this is what they done. But either way you look at it, it's just terrible. It gives us a black eye in the community, and that's probably why you won't find anything on Jobey Green or any of this other stuff, because number one, it gives us a black eye. And don't forget, this is a tourist town, so you're not going to find a lot of negative stuff posted around here about any of these things that I've told you. They don't want to scare people off, because that scares the dollars away. So that's why, you know, if somebody asked me, is there any documentation on any of this stuff, I'm sure there is somewhere. On the folklore stuff now, you're not going to find any documentation, but on, you know, like Jobey Green, there should be something somewhere, you know, probably in the sheriff's records. But yeah, that's him and his wife. You would see them walking the roads, and they claimed that she was a witch or a conjuring lady, but they was quite odd people. They were dirty, they smelled bad, their teeth were rotted. The kids I went to school with, I was in 5th grade, had a boy and a girl that went with me, my age, and they smelled bad and their teeth were rotted, and it was just, you know, like they never got out of the hollow. So it's a pitiful situation. There's a few more stories on him, but those are the most interesting ones I can think of just offhand. I don't have a script with me or anything. I just walk and talk. So, and then someone also asked me about the video about Shadow Ridge, about the houses there in the neighborhood, if any of that evil that's up there bothered anybody in the neighborhood. And it may not look like it, but that Shadow Ridge is a long ways away from that neighborhood. There's actually probably 400 yards of cornfield, and then there's a river, and then there's a couple of roads, so that's further away than you think. But yep, that answers that question. So I'll get back with y'all. Try not to wait so long. And I've got a few more stuff I want to tell you all. There's a lot more creepy and scary stories to tell. And there's also another subject that I'd like to tackle, stuff that come across, and it wasn't really paranormal, but it's stuff that went on around here when I was young. Of course, it involves people wearing white hoods on their head, burning crosses. A lot of that stuff I know about. But I'll make some more videos and get back with you all. And I hope you like this little short thing on Jobey Green and what his family and all. You can Google Jobey Green, Sevier County, and you can see where they're trying to sell the cabins all around this hollow. But if you go on Google Maps and you go all the way to the back, it looks like people now have been driving back there and dumping trash and stuff. But it's just a really creepy place to go. But anyways, I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I will be back on here. I've got some more stories lined up. I just don't know which ones to tell first. All right, y'all. See ya.